What is up, Star People? Lovianhal. Welcome to Star People Story Time. Yay! I just got back from the final day of Black Star Film Festival, and I got to see Nine Rides that was directed by Matthew Cherry, and it was actually very, very good. It was very good. It was interesting. Nice little twist. And I'm not feeling still like 1,000% like I normally would. But I have this little elixir. This is whole fresh garlic and honey. And I'm gonna tell you, as soon as you feel like a bug is coming for you, you take this in the morning and at night, knock it right on out. So I'm just waiting for my peoples and them to come through so we can start this read. So I'm going to stall. I'm going to do the tap dance, like my Philly shirt. I'm going to do the tap dance. I sound a little tired. I feel a little tired, but I'm telling you, that stuff will knock it out. And it also knocks you out a little bit. So we're going to get started in a few moments. Today, I guess recap. So yesterday, those of you who are new, we read chapters 5 and chapter 6. Hi, Ashley. Welcome to Star People Storytime. So last night we read chapters 5 and chapter 6. And chapter 5, Kai was, what happened in chapter 5? Something happened. Chapter 5, there were two dream sequences. So we were trying to figure out how Kai was able to fix this greenhouse contraption that Lara wanted her to do. And so chapter 5 was kind of a setup for that. And chapter 6, we got to get a glimpse of sacred sexuality and Kai and Jasper's love life and all that stuff. So it was good. So we're going into chapter 7, and last night Kai and Jasper had a bit of a spat. It was kind of a weird fight thing that happened, and so that's where we're kind of beginning today. And chapter 7 is titled Can of Worms, Bowl of Fruit. Be silent, my heart, until dawn comes. Be silent, for the raging tempest is ridiculing your inner whispering, and the caves of the valleys do not echo the vibration of your strings. Khalil Gibran wrote that. Kai's eyes popped open. It was dark. At least it was supposed to be. She knew the sun had set, and there was no moon, and yet she could see the light in everything around her like it was day. Mahi lay next to her, sound asleep, with his arm around her. She shifted his arm gently and slid out of bed. There was light in the walls. Most of the light she saw was coming from the sweet-smelling plants that were lined up against the windows that made up their entire left-hand wall. She smiled at the sight of a bright pink raspberry bush in the center of a bunch of other bushes she didn't know by name. Someone had also placed a crystal bowl on a crystal table with 2 crystal chairs just next to the plants. She didn't hesitate to fill the bowl to the brim with the raspberries. The plant renewed itself instantly of the fruit she had taken. Interesting, she said out loud, but in a whisper. Even the plants are self-sourcing. Surprisingly, she wasn't nearly as hungry as she wanted to be. She should have been ravenously, insanely hungry, but instead she felt so weird about everything. The earlier encounter with her husband was still leeching her. Everything was leeching her. She had gotten no real rest since she'd been back. The work she was called to do was instant and consistent. Light work, she thought. The so-called light within her put everything she was seeing now in motion, and she didn't even understand what any of it was. She wasn't sure if she even wanted to understand it. Mindlessly, she put a berry in her mouth. Its vibrant fragrance and flavor burst on her tongue, dazzling her taste buds, and then filled her body with the kind of satisfaction she had only experienced after really good sex. She felt and tasted beauty, love, joy, and deliciousness. She looked down at the bowl amazed. How did she taste such things in a single berry? She breathed in the sensation and then, more mindfully, placed another of the berries to her nose. She smelled its true origins. She smelled light. She heard the singing in it. She felt the sun. She ran the fruit across her lips and let the tingle of its unbridled frequency have its way with her before putting it in her mouth. For some reason, it reminded her of the first time she tasted Eden apples. At the time, Yamen was with her, watching over her and Kaitu while they were in the Eden. Kaitu was just a baby then and still nursing. She remembered being lustfully hungry her first morning in the Eden. She was heading out to the outer room of their crystal dwelling to have a big crystal bowl of the Eden fruit she knew was there. She could almost taste the amazingness of the Eden apples just beyond her grasp. At the time, it was like nothing she had ever experienced before, where she felt like where she was now felt like that. Except she didn't have to be in her yai to experience it. Oddly, she only had to bring back a whole swell of stai from Tustai, plant some cosmic organic roof garden to make her new earth home more like the Eden. She rolled her eyes. As blissful as it sounded in theory, living it was something different to her specifically. Something was missing. Or maybe she felt like she was being pushed into a life she hadn't signed up for. She was actually being pushed into a life she hadn't signed up for. From the moment she met Cinco, literally on her doorstep so many years ago, her life had been unraveling. As relieved as she was to step through that red door and not step back into her old life, she hadn't fully contemplated what her new life was supposed to be. She wasn't sailing the ship or even really a co-pilot. The ship seemed to be sailing itself and without her input. Everyone, of course, told her that she had chosen her path before and before and before. Of course. This was even more disconcerting because not only did she not remember making such choices, she knew that if she were given any real options beyond the narrow choices always presented to her, she wasn't sure she would have chosen any of the choices she supposedly chose. Maybe the problem was that she didn't actually have a plan. Save the planet, balance the Entwine, return her father to her people. None of those things sounded like plans. They sounded like items on a comic book hero's to-do list. They were also all of the things someone else told her she had to do, not stuff she had any interest in doing herself. At least in her yai, everything felt organic. No one in her dream believed in her, and so she didn't really need to believe in herself. There was no pressure for her at all, in a we don't expect much from you because your dad is the actual devil kind of way. Currently, she was surrounded by literal perfection, and she felt the persistent pressure to live up to it. It was such a killjoy. She was only beginning to know how much. She felt stuck. She felt tired. She longed for the freedom of having a say in her own continuation. She missed Yamen. She shoved another berry in her mouth while simultaneously sighing and plopping herself on one of the crystal chairs. She hugged the bowl of berries like it was a stuffed toy in hopes that it would lend her at least a dash of comfort. It didn't. Without even trying, she closed her eyes. Her mind wandered at first and then fizzled in and out. It felt like cards shuffling in a deck. When she opened her eyes, finally, after what felt like hours, she was in her yai, laying next to Kaitu as a baby. Even though she was taken off guard, her eyes were immediately flushed with tears. She let her fingers caress her little girl's sweet, soft face. She missed her this way, so small and cute. She didn't hesitate to kiss her daughter's infant cheeks as many times as she could without waking her. Funny. She was hungry and her breasts hurt. It would be time to nurse soon, but she remembered she hadn't eaten. She also remembered a dazzling bowl of Eden fare on the table in the outer room. She walked slowly from her inner room to the outer one, savoring each fleck of golden sand beneath her bare feet and every glisten of the crystal walls that made up the dwelling. She wasn't paying attention, so when she came face to face with him, she almost choked in her surprise. Yaman was actually sitting at the crystal table, reading his glass tablet, just like he was then. He looked up calmly, beaming at her. She felt unbelievably awkward. His features were fuzzy because at his afterlife, elder state, he wasn't technically a man with a body. But he was a man, and he did have form. It was like looking at a hologram, albeit not an HD one. Still, she could see him and he could see her. Was she really reliving this moment in her yai? Or was she dreaming about her dream? Either way, what would she say? What could she say? This moment happened already. Could she remake history by doing something different? What would she do now, knowing all that she knows about her true nature and what everyone told her was her true nature? If she had to relive the first moments of her bubbling love with Yaman, this was the moment. She remembered where it started for them. His beaming smile was fading into a look of panic. Maybe on the second go-round, he finally noticed that she was code red crazy. She was taking too long to address him. She probably looked scared, too. She had to think fast. Good morning, I guess. That's a decent start, right? She thought. She was trying to remember the conversation. Do you say good morning or good evening when the moon and the sun are always up at the same time? She asked as quickly as though reading a script that had just materialized in front of her face. She blew out a gush of breath. She remembered. Yaman's face reversed itself back to a genuine beam as Kai started walking toward him. It was almost as if she had transported herself into a play, and if she couldn't remember her lines, he couldn't say his. He hesitated as though he was remembering something. You now understand the power of Lovianhal, Vessel Kaiwan. It is not limited by circumstance, he said, bowing awkwardly. Yes, Elder Yaman, I understand, Kai said. She rolled her eyes this time, not because he was being awkward around her, but because she knew this script and didn't want to have to do the whole thing over as is. She wanted the organic spontaneity that the experience was when she first experienced it. Excuse me. She wanted it to be real, even if it wasn't. Lovianhal, she said. My Stai family, they just say Lovianhal. If they're addressing me specifically, they say Lovianhal Kairu, which is always a nice touch. Nobody has ever fully explained in any understandable way why I alone am called Kairu. And they probably won't. So I just go with it. It's shorter. You don't have to bow. The way we bow is way more involved anyway, she said, almost in one breath. Yaman stood up from his awkward gesture and looked exactly like he had just figured out that he was stuck in a horror movie. He had no idea what to say. This wasn't the script. Excuse me. I warned you, there's a bug. Okay. This wasn't the script. He was supposed to make up for his awkward bow with a deeper, more serious one. But she had just told him not to. Meanwhile, he couldn't help himself from staring at her. He had no idea what she was talking about. Stai? Who are they? No one told him any of this. But still, what did any of that matter? She was still more breathtaking to him than any soul he had ever seen. His heart started racing and he couldn't control it. Wait, my heart is beating? Yes, Kai said. Your heart is beating. Soon your whole body will be flush with humanness. Your fuzzy exterior will become your fuzzy interior, coated with skin and bones and blood and seething with all kinds of emotions you go back and forth about having. You and I fall in love and we make a baby, a son. But he is never born. You know why? Because I wake up. That's our story. It sucks a lot, but I'm married now. My husband is really amazing. Probably more amazing than I thought was possible. Or whatever. But the trick is, all of my people are as amazing as he is. Except for me. But they expect me to be. In vigilant fashion. So I probably swept myself back here to see you, to remember what it's like to just be Kai. To not know any of what I know, and to fall in love with someone who is willing to change everything organically, naturally, so we could be together. Which is stupid. But it was. It was an impossible scenario. And yet, it was everything I could ever want. So tell me, Elder Yaman, why do I still miss you so much? Why can't I let you go? Why is it that I'm pregnant with another man's babies and still long for the one we never had? Do you know? You were always smarter than me. You were smart enough to stay here in a dream while I longed for what we had out there. What's my problem? Do I only want the one that I can't have? Yaman's face looked like it would burst. Kai was unloading and he was taking it all in, trying to make sense out of what he was hearing, and then it looked like he was remembering something else. Something hidden. Is what you say true? Every word, Kai said through her tears. We fell in love? I became a man? My original form on Earth? You became pregnant with my son? You wake up? You still love me? Yes. All of those things. But you must have missed the part when I said I'm married and pregnant with super twins. I heard that part too, he said, turning away. So, what do I do about it? What is to be done? I am a dream, am I not? Apparently one you can wake up from. So wake up, he said. What if I don't want to? What if that is not one of your choices? See, that's the problem. All of my choices aren't one of my choices. Do you think I would choose to have to save a world that could care less that I exist? Or to save a father I've never known and who happens to not care about me or any of us enough to not try to destroy the world he was actually sent to save? The same world that I also happen to live in? Do you think for 1 second I give a shit about balancing the entwine? No. If I could have chosen, I would have chosen you and us, my daughter, our son, and a simple, normal life. Is it fair that one of my choices isn't the one I would choose? What would be simple and normal about the life you would have? What would be simple and normal about the life you would have chosen, Kairu? What could be simple about me, a spirit being, transformed into a breathing being, to be with you on earth and our children? What is simple about bearing and raising a child born from 2 different vibrational dimensions? Would he be real in an earth sense to this realm? I don't know. Of course you do not know. If you were meant to know, you would know already. We would know, because you would not need to visit me in a dream in hopes of replaying your greatest fears again, he said. How do you know this is a dream? How would you even know I'm trying to replay a fear? What do you know of my fears, since you're just a dream? She said. Yaman smiled in a way that reminded Kai of Jasperai. It was a kind, knowing smile that was not at all meant to belittle her point of view. On the contrary, it was the kind of smile that someone gives you when they love you completely and at the same time are encouraging you to come to the answer you would come to anyway, if you were actually being clear about things. I did not say anything we experience as fair. We follow our hearts and do what we must, he said. I'm following my heart now, aren't I? What must I do? Are you not happy? He asked. what is happiness really? Is it a duty? Is it an honorable cause? Is it not being able to shoot light out? Is it being able to shoot light out of my head and hands? Is it the ability to purify water or figure out how to grow stodgy food in dead earth soil? Is it babysitting a tree sapling that is supposed to transform the viability of, I don't know? Or no, maybe it's the possibility that the earth and the people in it will have to evolve. Is it an impending war against my father and his band of gray faces? If that's happiness, I suppose I'm giddy. She said, "You're sulking. You also did not answer my question. Are you not happy?" Kai thought for longer than a moment. She was angry. She felt hoodwinked somehow. Why she felt safer in the strangeness of her dream with an aberration than she did in the similar strangeness of her real life with her real husband and real family. She loved Jasper Eye. She was sure of it. But living up to him, even if he hadn't asked her to, wasn't what she bargained for. She loved her daughter beyond life. She loved her family, new to her as they were. She loved the two little beings that were just beginning to grow in her not yet swollen belly. She loved all of it. She even loved being counted on by so many people. There was a sense of pride she got knowing that her mission wasn't hers alone and that so many were with her in her work. She wasn't alone in any of what she had to do, but she was lonely. She was happy in her own way. She was also scared. "Yes," Yaman said. Kai looked up. "You can read my thoughts?" He smiled again in the same knowing way. "I always could," he said gently. Kai smiled back through her watery eyes. "You never answered my question," she said. "Which question?" "How do you know that this is a dream? When I first walked in the room, you were just as freaked out as I was. You recovered quickly, almost too quickly. How do you know this isn't more real than dream?" "I have a lot of practice, my dear Kaiwan. I am more real than you think, and more dream than you care to acknowledge. Should you choose to return, it will be my honor to help you find your way home again." "Lovianhal, Kairu," he said. He raised his palm to the heavens and let it fill with blue light, then lowered his head where the light turned gold. He then pressed his hand to his heart and then to his lips, finally to his third eye. He then raised his hand to the heavens again while raising his head, effectively completing the Om Omni Shakai bow for her. He stayed his gaze on Kai's eyes for a long while, like he was taking her in fully. Without much more fanfare, he straightened himself, and then glided toward the opposite direction and walked out of the outer room, presumably through the waterfall and out into the great Eden beyond. Kai was left in the crystal dwelling alone with a massive crystal bowl of Eden fruit and vegetables. She was done crying. She was done even with sulking. She was torn now between getting another kiss from her sleeping six-month-old or devouring the bowl of Eden fruit in front of her. Eden fruit used to be her favorite thing in the whole world. In fact, it was a piece of Eden fruit that caused her to wake up from her yai in the first place. It was a newfangled kind of Eden apple, specifically, that caused her so much confusion right before she met Lara. It was also the same newfangled Eden apple that brought her back from her awake coma. Kai decided she had had her fill of Eden apples and any other fruit or vegetable from Eden's garden to last a lifetime. She laughed a bit to herself as she turned on her heel to go back into the crystal bedroom of the dwelling. She was surprised that she didn't get to see the face of her 6-month-old baby laying there in the crystal bed. Instead, she was looking at the face of her 7-year-old little girl. She also wasn't in the crystal dwelling anymore. She was in Kaitu's new bedroom. She leaned down to caress her daughter's hair before planting a dozen kisses on her cheeks. She smiled as she said, "All is as it should be." She frowned as the words piled out, poetic as they were, because she wasn't sure that she meant it. She left Kaitu's room to go back to her own, frown intact. But she didn't go back to her room. She couldn't. She roamed the halls of her new home instead. There was just no way for her to know that just a few steps behind her, everywhere she went, Yaman was there too. Ooh, what did Kai gonna do now? So that's chapter 7. And for my new people, there are lots of references to book 1 in this particular chapter. So Yaman, I can tell you this, Yaman was Kai's first, well, her man in book 1. And they had a very complicated relationship because he was an elder, and in the Stellar Trilogy world, elders are spirit beings, and so they can't technically have, relations with human people because you're talking about spirit people and human people, and the spirit people don't have form. But because of the nature of the story and the dynamic of what had to happen, because remember, the whole point of this whole story existing is that Kai is a part of a recognizance mission to collect her father and thank you, Raj. Collect her father and return him to their people. So that's what this whole thing is about. And reading book 1, you get to know who her father is. I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to ruin it for you. It's really fucking cool though. I mean, it's not really cool, but it is kind of cool. So it's just so Yaman it holds a really strong place for Kai. He's the reason when she woke up, after book 1, when things didn't work out with Yaman the way that she had anticipated, that's what sent her in her 7-year spiral of just it was a mess. It was crazy. It was cray-cray. So, the fact that she supposedly had moved on, it's been 7 years, she's married now, she's pregnant with twins, and she ended up in this supposed dream sequence that will be explained, and she got to see Yaman again, and that was a lot, and that was deep. And at some point it does get explained. I think, I don't know. I don't want to give it away, but this chapter was very pivotal, and it complicates things a lot. So you're welcome to if you have any questions. I know for folks that are new, this is you're coming in on chapter 7, you're like, what is happening? You're welcome to ask questions, but I'm reading a book that I wrote. It's actually the 3rd book in a series called the Stellar Trilogy, and this is book 3, and the book is called Light of the War. And if you're interested in the series, you can go to my website, envymckee.com has it. Is this on demand? And you guys, he's so stupid. Hi, Derek. Yeah, there are. We if you go on this page, but I post so much stuff on this page, it's crazy. But if you go to the my Facebook, the Stellar Trilogy page, it should be where it's, how you have the bio, my bio, it should be on there where it says writer, author, publisher, the Stellar Trilogy series. You can just click on it, and we so far the prologue is on there. There's a video that has chapters 1 and 2. There's chapter 3. I think we did 5 and 6 together. So there's a whole bunch of them, of the videos. And we're going to be doing this all throughout the month of August. But the whole reason why I'm doing this is because I'm relaunching this book that we're reading on August 21st. The ebook is coming out. And I made some changes too. I mean, I made it sexier. So the whole relaunch of the book that's happening on the 21st. So we're gonna just be reading chapters. Why not? Let's have some fun. And so if you want to go back and read the other books too, you're welcome to do that. envymckee.com. I have signed copies there. Amazon, Barnes and Noble sells them. They're all over the place. So if you have any questions about what we read, if you have any questions about, the backstory, we meet here every day every night at 11 p.m. and we read a chapter. So you're welcome to come back and join at any point. And you're welcome to go to my I guess my author page and look at the other videos. We've been doing this Facebook Live for a week now. And look at the other videos. Don't pay any attention to me. Like I told you I have a bug of some sort, and I have this garlic and honey, and the fresh garlic is like, you know, garlic is a natural antibiotic, so it will kill cooties, like kill cooties, and it also wants you to knock out. So I'm actually being very powerful right now because when I first took it, I really just was like, it's like that. It's better than NyQuil, I promise. So any questions? Anyone? Any questions? Thank you so much for joining and reading with me. Tomorrow we're doing chapter 8. I don't have chapter 8 printed out, so I can't tell you if it's going to be 2 chapters or 1. Normally what happens, the shorter chapters, if they're 2 short chapters back to back, I read them together so that all of these videos are around the same time. Oh, okay. The live notification didn't pop up. Well, you know, I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything about, like, this is my first week on Facebook Live, so I guess I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do to fix that, but I'll look and see what I can do about that. Make sure that people know that this is happening. Maybe what I'll do is I'll post like a little, we about to go live, y'all. Would that help if I did that first? Like, we're about to go live. I'm here ready, and then do the live thing. Would that be helpful? And then also, I can't always see who's on here. Like, sometimes it'll tell me that people joined, and sometimes it won't. So I just read. That's all I do. I just read. Excuse me. So what I'm about to do is 11:43. I'm about to take my hind parts to bed so I can get some rest. Tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., we are going to do our Stop, Drop, and Meditate. And I was out at Black Star Film Festival today. I said that earlier. And I was actually stopped and said, thank you for doing the meditation. So I'm going to keep doing the meditation. 11 a.m. we do... Stop, Drop, and Meditate. 10 minutes we meditate together live. I'm calling it Facebook Live and Shine. Why not? And then in the evenings for the cap up, we read a chapter from my 3rd book. Good. So we elevating. We getting ready. Elevation. This is delirium. I'm gonna go. Love you guys so much. Lovianhal Star People. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Mwah!